Hi YouTubers, it's Evan again for today's video right now. I'm smoking nice big ass cigars, that big ass cigar for life. I'm drinking some water right now. Buckle up guys, very important ramble. So I want to talk about right now, it's going to be probably probably 10 or 15 minute ramble I post on Cigar Gang, nice big ass cigar for life. I wanted to talk about something very important right now. Not a ramble about trolls, nothing like that. I want to talk about basically a wrong impressions or biasy video. Now, if you remember a couple days ago, I did a biasy video, basically about biasy, about tobacco, nice big ass cigars for life, and basically I talk about how people are very, biased about tobacco because of health effects. People are like, oh, everyone, who gets tobacco, gets cancer, that kind of stuff, because basically a doctor's not going to tell you because it's encouraging bad behavior. So it's really encouraging bad behavior, and obviously a doctor is medically liable to say, don't do that, it's bad for you. It's like, obviously a doctor's not going to tell you that mouth cancer is extremely rare because if you happen to draw the wrong straw, you could sue them for a lot of money. It's like, obviously be very biased. But the point I make, obviously for adults only. Big ass cigar life. And I really mean that when I say that. This is really only for adults. I don't like the idea of kids watching my videos. So it's like really this is a channel for 18 plus adults, like me. So I'm over 18, I'm over 21. And for the last time, believe what you ever want to believe, but I'm over 18, I'm over 21. And whatever. What I want to talk about right now is not really about biasy, it's more about the wrong impression. I actually have a list right here. I have a list right here called Wrong Impression / Biasy. I want to talk about biasy, not so much about tobacco, not about big ass cigars for life, but more about just a wrong impression. How it's very easy for people to get the wrong impression about certain things. Not really tobacco, actually not tobacco at all. I am smoking a nice big ass cigar for life. More just about things in general. So I have a few examples here and there. So the first one I want to talk about is high school dropout. So basically, a lot of people unfortunately have the wrong impression about me when I talk about, oh, I basically don't work a full-time job. People are wondering, smoking SC77 or Evan, what do you do for a living? How do you support yourself? How do you pay your bills every month? How do you pay your rent every month? And I have to explain to my subscribers, I have a lot of very complex and detailed physical and mental disabilities. So I have high functioning autism, I have severe OCD, I have bipolar, and I have a lot of very, very severe special needs. And people have gotten kind of the wrong impression. It's very easy for people to get an impression. Oh, this is somebody who had a totally traditional life, somebody who just, I know it's ticking, so as a sign that I have that disability, so I like to do that. This is like, oh, this is somebody who had a totally traditional life, dropped out of school one day, now moved to his parents. It's very easy, I'm sorry, my eyes are sweating a little bit, so I worked outside today, oh, this is somebody who had like a totally traditional life, no special needs, has rich, snobby parents. I actually knew somebody like that a while back. Rich, snobby parents, dropped out of high school one day, just lives in his parents' basement. Especially for someone who's really poor, somebody who is, grew up really poor, and grew up in a very different household, it might really bother them. It's like, it might be like, this really bothers me. It's like, I had to work my ass off, like the big ass cigar when I was like a kid, It really bothers me as a kid does this. I hate when people call me a kid, but you get the point. You get the point. It's like, people are like, it's like, this really bothers me. Like, why does this kid get to, live in his parents' basement? Basically just mooch off his parents. Yeah, this person probably had rich, snobby parents, just lives in his parents' basement, It's like, it really kind of, kind of bothers me. It's like, and that's why I think, people are like, well, you're feeding the trolls, dude. You're saying, you're giving the trolls attention. It had to be said. I think it absolutely had to be said. Flick off my ash. Like, oh, it had to be said. I think it had to be said because people are getting the impression, oh, this is a high school dropout. This is somebody who dropped out of high school one day and now just has no life. And I used to be a while back like that. Sorry, I talked too fast. It's like, um, what I was going to say was, it's like, especially for someone who grew up really poor, it might bother them. It's like, I can kind of tell, why somebody might get bothered by that. It's like, what I was going to say was, Orban went off, is that's why people get that very wrong impression. So, and basically, big ass cigar for life. That's why, in my opinion, it had to be said. People might say, well, you're feeding the trolls do, you're saying, you're giving trolls attention. I think it had to be said. Because people might get a very wrong impression. So that's the first thing. The second example I can give is not just being like, the impression that I'm a high school dropout. Second example is, I can tell you right now, people get very biased about a lot of things. People get biased about, and people get the wrong impression about a lot of things. And this might turn to a pretty long ramble, so just buckle up. If you're not watching long videos, click off right now. Basically, what I was going to say was, the next thing I want to talk about, this is kind of off topic, so just be warned, it may sound a little bit strange, is people get biased about a lot of things. So, it's like, a good example is, I can actually give you a really good example of how people are biased. So, I'm a paralegal. So, I went to paralegal school. I don't have a job as a paralegal currently. I'm kind of working my way up to that. So, what I want to talk about is, people get very biased about a lot of things, including law. So, it's like, people are like, oh, the same law goes in every state. And that's not true. So, like, I got a comment, I think it was probably 3 years ago, it had to be 3 years ago, when Florida passed that law about pipes, tobacco pipes, like big-ass pipes. Somebody posted on my channel, I'm sorry to say the Florida nanny saying that your pipe's illegal. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because do you realize Florida's 1,000 miles away? It's like, what happens in Florida has nothing to do with Massachusetts. So, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of sweat in my eyes. I'm sorry about that. It's like, what happens in freaking Florida has nothing to do with Massachusetts. Florida law means nothing in Massachusetts, because states have different laws. So, Florida could say you get executed for chewing gum, but that has nothing to do with Massachusetts. I mean, obviously I'm being sarcastic. You get the point. You get the point. But it's like, people get very biased. It's like, oh, what happens in Florida or Texas, is the same thing that happens in Massachusetts. So, I want to talk about, like, not just, just on, like, law enforcement officers or prosecutors or judges or district attorneys or state attorneys. People get very biased. It's like, I will say this. I have nothing against the criminal justice system. I think it's very, for the most part, depending on what state you're living in, fair. So, here in Massachusetts, criminal justice system is very fair. Criminal justice system is very fair. So, it is a very fair system in Massachusetts. Now, that's not the case everywhere. I can tell you right now, there are some states where the criminal justice system is really, really bleeped up. So, I'm not going to say the word. So, it's like, states like Alabama, states like Oklahoma, states like Texas, where they execute somebody like every other week. It's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, that's not happening in Massachusetts. So, Massachusetts, it's like, we're probably one of the most liberal states in the country on crime. It's like, actually, a lot of people would say we're too soft. So, a lot of people say we're way too soft on criminals. The point I'm trying to make is, people get, very biased. They say, oh, the kind of law that's practiced in Florida, the kind of punishment, is happening in Massachusetts. So, I say that because they say it on Cigar Gang, Massachusetts, because it's so damn cold here. So, you get the point. What I was going to say was, people get very biased. So, it's like, oh, what's happening in Massachusetts is happening in the same states. It's like, people get very biased because, honestly, for the most part here in Massachusetts, the police officers, the judges, the district attorneys, the DAs, the prosecutors, whatever, are very good people for the most part. I know a lot of cops. I know a lot of judges. I know a lot of district attorneys because I'm a paralegal myself. I'm not working in the paralegal field currently, but I know a lot of people, and they're good people for the most part. I mean, obviously, there'll be a bad cop in every state. So, I mean, every state's going to have bad cops, good cops, Depends where you live. It depends what kind of, difference between the city and the suburbs, It depends, Most of the cops around here in Massachusetts are very, very good people. Car going by 1 sec. For the most part, the cops around here are very good. So, the cops around here in Massachusetts are very good. So, they're very fair people. I mean, they're strict. I mean, they're strict. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the cops around here. But, for the most part, they're very fair. And they give the fair punishment. So, the prosecutors, the district attorneys, the judges around here are very fair. So, obviously, there'll be a bad cop, a bad judge here and there. But, for the most part, they're very fair. So, now, in states like Texas, not the case at all. So, like Arizona, you can go to jail for a year for having one joint on you. That's ridiculous. It's like, I mean, obviously I have no interest in trying marijuana, but it's like, nobody needs to go to jail for a year for having any amount of pot. Because I support it being legal, even though it's something I have absolutely no interest in trying whatsoever. I'm happy with Big Ass Cigars for Life. I'm happy with Big Ass Cigars for Life, but you know what? What I was going to say was, it's wrong what they're doing in Texas and Florida or Oklahoma. I mean, those states are ridiculous. It's like, locking somebody up for 20 years for selling one joint. That does not happen in Massachusetts because we're fair, we're reasonable, we're realistic. And obviously, it depends. I mean, obviously, if you're a career criminal who has a violent history, of course we're going to lock you up because you're a danger to society. I'm not giving legal advice here, just to let you know. So, I mean, obviously, if you're a career criminal, of course we're going to lock you up. I mean, of course we're going to lock you up. It's like, of course we're going to lock you up. It's like, but if you're a young person who never made a mistake before, now don't sue me if you do this. I mean, I'm not encouraging people to go out and commit crimes. I'm just giving you what I know the facts. I mean, obviously, if you're a career criminal, we're going to lock you up. But if you're a young person who didn't make a mistake before, we're going to give you a chance. I think in Massachusetts we're very reasonable. We're very, very reasonable in Massachusetts with the punishments we give. I think especially like marijuana, especially with simple possession drug users, I think we're very fair. And we're not softies. We do lock up people for a long time for selling large quantities of drugs here in Massachusetts, but we're very fair. I think we're very fair. Compared to states like Texas, we can go to jail for 20 years for having like 1 gram of meth on you. That's ridiculous. It's like, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's not happening in Massachusetts. I mean, it's like for the most part, drug offenses are misdemeanors, and pot is now legal. So I have nothing against that. It's not something I have no interest in trying. So that's legal stuff. For the most part around here, the cops, the judges, the prosecutors are very fair people. So not the case everywhere, but here in Massachusetts, very fair people. Third thing I want to talk about is medical stuff. So I know this video is very long. People get the wrong impression about, medical stuff. I mean, people are like, the level of care you get here in Massachusetts is the same you get in like, down south or whatever. It's like, people get the wrong impression about medical care. It's like, the same care you can get at, Dana-Farber in Boston, which is one of the best places you can get cancer care. It's like, obviously, we can get cancer care in Dana-Farber in Boston. It's one of the best places in the world for cancer care, cardiovascular care. I mean, the level of care you can get at like Dana-Farber in Boston is fantastic. I mean, best place to get cardiovascular care, best place to get like heart care, vascular care, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really amazing. So now, on the other hand, in Idaho, in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, level of care might be good, but it's not anywhere near as good as here in Massachusetts. So, I mean, Boston, Massachusetts is one of the best places in the world to get cancer care, cardiovascular care, all that kind of stuff. So, it's one of the best places on earth. I mean, people come from all over the world to go to like Boston Children's Hospital. It's one of the best places on earth, and it's like the level of care you can get like at those hospitals is really, really, really good. Uh, it's like that's really amazing. So, um, what I was going to say was that's not the case everywhere. I mean, like some hospitals, like down south, it's like the doctors may not be bad people, but you really, really, really don't get a very good level of care. So, I mean, people come from all over the world to go to like Dana Farber in like Boston, and so here in Massachusetts. So the medical care is fantastic. I mean, it's one of the best places in the world to get medical care. And we have, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice, but people even who have like lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, people who have very bad types of cancer, really, really, really get cured. So I mean, you may not be cured, but it's like you can live a very long, healthy life with you know uh with here in Massachusetts. So it's like I'm not saying go out and smoke. This is obviously only for adults, but it's like even if you did end up with like cancer or heart disease, the level of care you can get in Boston is amazing. It's like you can get extremely good care in Boston, and it's like people live a long life. Even people who are terminal with lung cancer live a very long life and have very little pain. So, not saying that people with lung cancer should go ahead and smoke, and it's bad for you. It's obviously bad. I understand it's bad for me, but it's like you can get a very different level of care here in Massachusetts than you can like in rural Idaho. So, next thing I want to talk about is education. There's two more things I want to talk about. People get the wrong idea about education also. It's like, people say like, oh, the education here in Massachusetts is the same in like, the middle of I'm not going to use the word, but I'm not going to use that word, but it's a little bit derogatory. So, like the inner city in like New York. It's like very high level, especially around here. I'm not going to say where I live. I would say, um, the level of education is extremely good. I mean, around here, very affluent towns, very high level. I mean, everyone who went to my high school pretty much went to an Ivy League 4-year college. So, oh my God, everyone went to an Ivy League 4-year college. It's like, people, went to a really good college. So, people in like here around here in these affluent towns, you expect a lot from your kids. I'm not a kid, but you get the point. It's like people go to like really, 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 really nice colleges. Even Mass Bay, which was a community college here in Massachusetts, is a very, very good college. I mean, it's a very good college. I mean, it's one of the best colleges in New England. So it's like the level of education you get is like really, really good. It's amazing. I mean, the level of care you can get in, or the level, not care, but education, you get the point, is amazing here in Massachusetts. It's really, really amazing. So, I mean, compared to like the inner city, I mean, compared to, not trying to like pick on anybody, but it's really amazing. So, uh, it's really amazing. It's amazing what the level of care or the level of education you get. I mean, people in my high school were expected to go to, 4-year Ivy League colleges to be probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars money, be executive vice presidents. And obviously, I have a lot of special needs, so I took it a little bit slower. But people, I mean, I know people. I mean, most of my friends kind of went their own separate ways after college. I don't know a lot of people to talk to because most of my friends went to like 4-year colleges. My best friend, I'm not going to mention his name. Actually, I'll mention his name, Matt. Matt, I think you've seen him in one of my very, 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 very old videos. So, I mean, he's a teacher, so I mean, he's really a good, person. It's like, people here in Massachusetts, go to, in general, very nice colleges. So, that's education. The last thing I want to talk about is marijuana one more time. Yes, one more time. So, again, no interest in trying it, but the point I want to make is, again, people get the wrong impression about it. It's like, again, legalization of marijuana in Massachusetts doesn't mean a whole lot. I'm not going to talk too much because I talk about it way too much. I've already talked about it like 3 or 4 times. People get, the wrong impression. It's like, people say like, oh, it's like, what happens in freaking Florida happens in Massachusetts. It's like, marijuana, even before it was made legal, was already basically legal. So, not saying people should do it, it's bad. It's like, same thing as smoking can cause a lot of health problems. I really knew somebody who really ruined their life for a while back, so it's like, I'm not saying people should go ahead and do it. It's like, I mean, obviously you're over 18, you're over 21, kind of make your own decisions. Under that, no way, you should be playing video games. You should be being a good kid, because that's what kids are supposed to do. I'm 25 and a half, so, I mean, I have friends, and 25 and a half-year-old people talk dirty to each other, tell each other gross jokes, tell people, whatever. It's like, that's what 25 and a half-year-old people do. 14, 15, 16-year-olds should be playing video games, should be riding their bike, should be hanging out with friends, should be, learning how to date, that kind of stuff. It's not what 25 and a half-year-old people should do. What you do when you're 25 and a half, I mean, yes, you're young, you're older, but you're young. It's like, obviously what 25 and a half-year-old people do with each other is very different. It's like 25 and a half-year-old people are sexually active in general. So 25 and a half-year-old people are, talk dirty to each other. It's like, that's not what kids should be doing. It's like, again, you're over 18, you're over 21, make your own choices, like me. Under that, absolutely not. So, if you are over 18, over 21, marijuana is legalized, I can't stop you. It's like something I have no interest in trying whatsoever. It's like, even before marijuana became legalized in Massachusetts, it was already basically legal. It's like, we are the most liberal state on marijuana in the country. And I have no problem with it whatsoever. I knew someone who really ruined their life for a while back, but you know what? It's like, at a certain point, be biased, don't get the wrong impression. And those are some very good examples of how people can get very biased, including, getting the wrong impression about me, that I don't have any special needs, getting the wrong impression about, how every police officer, every judge, every prosecutor is a bad person, getting the impression that every hospital is a nightmare where people die painfully on chemo, and getting the impression, that the education everywhere is bad because of the economy, getting the impression that marijuana is treated horribly everywhere. It's like, not encouraging people to, do bad behavior, but it's like, be curious, especially with, someone like me, who's not a terribly unhealthy person, who smokes a couple cigars a day, who kind of, has a few unhealthy habits, and, is a little bit overweight, but it's like, I'm not 500 pounds, I'm not, I'm not 500 pounds, I'm not, drinking a lot of alcohol, I'm not, doing drugs, be biased, because, some of the information you might get is wrong. So, anyway, Big Ass Cigar for Life by Big Ass Cigar for Life. 24 minutes long, very long ramble. I'm not going to make this video any longer. Bye.